Okay, welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday. I'm going to start off with a demo here. This got merged up yesterday. Basically, it's an update to how post-pod reconciliation works inside wasmCloud. We found this bug last week at KubeCon while doing some demos and doing some updates on the finalizers that are used inside the runtime operator. If one of the hosts disappears, the reconciliation loop for all the workloads that are deployed took roughly around a little over 2 minutes. And the reason why is because when a host is running inside your cluster, that creates a an actual host that's the scope is the actual cluster itself, not namespaced. And inside this host custom resource, this is where it gives like the status as far as what the kernel is, what kind of memory, the workload count, and as well as if it's healthy or not. This reconciliation loop, when the host dies, it the heartbeat stops, and after 1 minute, it'll be updated to a ready unknown state. So that way, nothing else is getting deployed to the host because it's not healthy. But the next loop around, that's when it finally goes around and says, "Oh, I got some workloads that are out there that are also in an unhealthy state." So it takes roughly 2 minutes, which that's not like a really good problem to have. Um, so what this change did is adds a finalizer to the actual pod of the host. So if I was to like look at this, see if I can find it real quick. Probably won't be able to find it. Anyways, there's a finalizer that's added to the pod resource itself. In order for this to be allowed, there is a new role that was created, not a cluster role. If I do look at this, this now has a patch that's been given to the runtime operator. The reason why this does work is because by default, wasmCloud does deploy the host and the runtime operator in the same namespace. And we just wanted to avoid having a cluster role by default, which would give way too many permissions to the operator to be able to patch all pods that are running. Now, of course, if you do have the host running in other namespaces, you can just clone this role and then give the appropriate namespaces permissions to the pod or to the operator itself. So just as a quick little demo here. So I got just the welcome to wasmCloud running right here. It just says pull up from wasmCloud. I have just a quick curl statement over here that is just going to keep on looping forever, returning if it's 200 good, otherwise it returns bad. So I'm just going to have this just keep on running and it just returns the current time in milliseconds here. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the pod. Like I said before, it took about 2 minutes for it to reconcile. I think it's on this first one here. Yeah. And as you notice, yeah, okay, so let me stop that. If I go up to here to see when it was at, so let's just say 34,051, 38,898. So just quick math, that's roughly about 4 point something seconds. So that's way faster than 2 minutes. Yeah, and everything's all healthy. And if I go back to my host, whoops, wrong screen. Everything is back healthy again too. And with the new host right there reporting, it's ready to go. See if I can get back to chat here. I don't know if there's any questions or not.
So no, it's let me just so when you say host, you obviously mean wasmCloud host,
Yes.
not like a node. And then so the problem was that the host wasn't actually able to accept anything after you deleted the pod, uh but how is it scheduling? I got to get into the whole wasmCloud 2.0. How is it what's the scheduling now? How is it changed?
Yeah.
Sorry. That's
So
probably a totally different thing, but
no, this is good. So let me share my screen again. This might make a little bit more sense. So inside, so this is the Kubernetes my kind cluster.
sure.
So you create oh, dang it, it's this way. So if I just do get workloads,
hmm
yeah. So there's the hello world. My autocomplete is not working for my shortcut. I need to fix that. Let's see, hello world dash o YAML. Yeah, so you still use inside the workload, you do specify where the OCI image is,
Mhm.
what interfaces you need, but then you also do have a host selector. So this right here is what basically
Ah,
goes into the hosts that are deployed is a Kubernetes, just typical Kubernetes deployment. And then the host group, I just say host group default, and the deployment, if I look at it, is simply just let's see deployment. Yeah, so it's host group default right here. That's why it has three replicas out there. So when the workload goes out there, then the operator says, "Oh, I need to schedule this." It finds the right host. It connects over NATs to let the host know this is what needs to be scheduled. It then schedules it, and then it
okay.
updates all the CRDs.
All right. All right. It makes sense now. Okay. So we can have multiple hosts. And the problem was that it was scheduling on hosts that didn't exist anymore.
So it
So
was
that's what you're
that
fixing.
it was that, but it was also because obviously pods can fail, anything can fail, and so we wanted to take for the consideration of this pod's already or this host already is running all these workloads. If it does go down from some sort of catastrophic event, we want those to be rescheduled as fast as possible, so that way there's no production outage.
Okay. All right, cool.
Great question though.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I would add there is that for something that, you have an SLA behind, you would also be using our replicas, and that would be on multiple host pods that workload's
Yeah,
scheduled. So,
right. If it's rest
yeah,
truck, if it's like a request comes in, you're gonna have, yeah, you shouldn't have hit this
options.
anyway. Yeah, it
Yeah.
should because you're still using NATs, still being put still being put on the message bus. So it's not going to get taken, or is that changed now? It wouldn't be taken by if you had multiple replicas of the hosts. There's that the host if that host didn't exist, it wouldn't be taking that message,
So we're
right?
not we're not publishing HTTP request over the message bus.
Oh, okay.
So the load balancing here is whatever you put in front of on your ingress, and then that will
Uh,
route to the host DNS.
okay. So the host, because we're doing WASI HTTP directly, and wasmCloud is doing that, or well, I guess wasmTime's doing that directly. So yeah, so I get it. Okay,
Yeah,
so it would actually
most
cause
folks
problems.
will, they would have a gateway, they'll have some configuration for Envoy that's going to do their routing, that's going to do the
Yeah.
route into
So
the host on a host
it would
header.
need to be coming up healthy in Envoy in whatever the load balancer is, independently of this,
Yeah, and
right?
inside Wasm Cloud, the runtime gateway handles the reverse proxy from there into the corresponding host for that workload.
Yeah. I'm just so the service itself is coming up. It's kind of like early days of Kubernetes before application load balancers. You'd have to have an ELB for every service you had listening. So we're kind of doing that again, right? So each HTTP service is going to have its own load balancer potentially, or whatever, or an ALB, whatever. But that's gonna have to come up healthy in the load balancer for traffic to get routed to it, right?
So the workload has to be in a healthy state, and then when that's in a healthy state, the runtime gateway that's running updates its internal mapping to say, okay, this one's healthy for an endpoint, and then it looks once again at that workload to see what the ingress uh, URL domain is. And so it's just like a typical hash map of, so when a request comes in, it says, okay, I see this domain, let me see what workloads register to it, and then it reverse proxies back to it. So it's not like
Okay.
you have a separate ALB for each thing. It's just one runtime gateway that's running.
Oh, okay. All right. So there's one runtime gateway, and that will execute the response. So that basically the response gets executed, or the workload gets executed. Okay, independently.
Yes. Yeah.
But then how? Okay. So it's doing the translation from HTTP into whatever needs to go out over on NATs that the workload needs.
So in this scenario, there's an HTTP server inside the host
Yep.
that's effectively a built-in.
For
Um,
common for every workload.
common for every workload. So a request comes in, maybe it hits somebody's load balancer, HA proxy, whatever. Hits our runtime gateway, our very dead simple kind of reverse proxy. That will be enriched with like what the workload is, who we want to talk to. And that is routed to the host. And so on the inside the host, it's HTTP all the way through.
Okay.
And the component itself has an if it's, let's say, the thing that's gonna, it's a REST microservice. In that case, it has an export for the WASI HTTP.
Okay. All right. So everything comes in common, and then if it's spread out geographically, let's say,
Yeah,
I guess within
you would
each
do
cluster, within each geography, you have one HTTP. What do you call it? Workload
a
or
runtime gateway.
runtime gateway.
I dropped a link to that if you want
Okay.
to take a look
Yeah.
in the
Just
chat.
mapping it to the way things kind of were before. So I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
So
fair.
Okay.
just follow on this. So does it follow pretty much mean what Kube does, which is checking the health of the components, and if they're okay, it might
Well,
send.
the hosts, I think. The wasmCloud hosts it has to check.
There's
The
really
component-
two. If you go through the documentation that Bailey dropped, there's really two operators working. One host related is the runtime operator that schedules all the workloads to the right hosts that are running, and that's really checking the host state. The gateway is the one that is getting the status information, the health from the workload that's been deployed, and then routing traffic coming in based on that. So there's really two operators that are in play on this. But to your point, Frank, yes, it's honestly like the way we were describing it at KubeCon is, wasmCloud really is extending an extension for Kubernetes to run Wasm components exactly like how pods do.
Okay, and so but this will be for, let's say, long running. But if it is to spawn a new replica, suppose that, I don't know who makes it. I mean, how is the decision made in terms of spawning a new? I mean, so let's say for a function, how would that then happen? So is the gateway then actually decide I need to have a new replica and spawns a new replica, or?
So I think there's two different things going on. Maybe sorry if I can answer this, but you're making a new instance of the component on every request. That hasn't changed, right? So it's really the workload. It's like the health of that actual workload. Like I made a hello world, right? And every time the hello world component, I get an HTTP request, the hello world component gets executed, right? And so the health of when you said health of component before, I was thinking this is what you meant, but like the health of the workload. If all of a sudden every time
Yes.
Yeah, every time hello world kicks off, it fails somehow, doesn't send a response or fails something, then you need to be aware of that in the wasmCloud level. And then you have to also be aware of at the wasmCloud orchestration level, the health of the hosts themselves, the wasmCloud hosts themselves.
Right.
So for a long running, it's not really it doesn't really matter if it's long running or short running for this purpose of this discussion.
Right. That's right. And then so this change was back to like the original change for this PR. When I say let me schedule this hello world application outside the whole entire cluster, it's scheduled. But let's just say that host goes down. It's not really scheduled anymore. So that's the health of the workload.
Make sure the workload gets put on a healthy host.
Yet another, yes, exactly.
And it should be on multiple hosts because it's kind of, other than the disk space with the component and the bandwidth to get it onto every host.
Right.
It's pretty free. It's kind of free.
Right. And so pretty much so just to rephrase this, so every request will create its own replica.
Replica, we kind of mean
the
workload. Yeah.
Yes.
I think they're talking about, so a workload is the fact that you have the component on the host. Right.
So what is the terminology for, let's say, a component is just an object, but to run it, to...
Yeah, I
We
say
call that an
instance.
instance.
Yeah, instance.
Okay. So every request will bring up an instance.
Yeah. Yep. And
Okay.
you have to make sure you have the component or components for that workload on the host in order for it to respond. I mean, it can pull it down, right? Because they're fairly small, but you'd want that kind of ready to go.
Yep. Got it. Okay.
Can you do multiple components in a workload still?
Sure can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Making sure.
So,
All right.
so a workload deployment looks a whole lot like in V1, the WASM YAML. Also,
Yeah.
maybe we do a recurring doc of the week here where Eric had written a doc on migration to V2, which shows a side-by-side comparison between V1 and V2. And if you look at the picture for a WASM YAML and a workload deployment, you might be like, I think this is the same picture. It's very similar. There are slight differences and good reasons for those, but a lot of that is called out there with some really nice diagrams. Actually, I'm looking at it again. Wow, go Eric.
Job,
Here, I'm gonna
Eric.
pull this up. Uh, desktop 2? Yeah. I'm gonna give everybody anxiety with all my tabs. So migration to V2 kind of goes through a lot of this. We talk about how we're not really shoving every single request on Nats, and the main motivation for that was performance. And then in terms of like our architecture here, what we're talking about, you got your workload deployment that we're scaling. It's the runtime operator that reconciles that and tells which host to load that workload. Now, what we don't have in this right now is talking about the runtime gateway. So that's probably another feature enhancement we could make to kind of like clarify the different parts of that. But, there's a difference between what's declarative, like what the resources that get defined throughout the system state, and then the path of an ingressing a request. So I'm gonna drop a link to that in chat as well. Oh, it's already there. Okay. Yep. Any other questions on that front?
No, that was good. Thanks.
Cool. So we released wasmCloud V2, and that's pretty cool, right? There are a couple last mile things that we've been landing, small minor kind of fixes, getting the actions toolkit to point to the latest release. All that is out now, which means it's time for Q2 planning. And I've started creating a couple of issues of things that I think would be great candidates for Q2. I encourage other folks to file issues, make sure they're, kind of qualified. Like if it's very abstract, I think the more concrete issue would be we work together to come up with a design, but that's not something that we would schedule for work to be done in Q2. So I want, basically qualified work that we can do and action on and ideally get done in Q2, separate from, the more higher level things that we want to explore. So for example, I went ahead and created one for P3 because we've been tracking that for a long time. It's very important. And it's a big chunk of work. So I'm going to share that real quick. Basically, we've got some high-level motivation here, but the way that I think we should implement this is to put it behind a WASI P3 feature flag. Go ahead and yesterday we updated to WASM time 43. WASM time 43 has the release candidate I cut in the lead up to WASM IO and KubeCon, and it might be the last one. We'll see. We don't know of anything else. Let me put it that way. I am not aware of anything. And next week, my game plan is to get up a blog post on WASI in the Bytecode Alliance. That's basically a last call. Please try things, integrate if you've been hanging out, waiting for, almost no churn, somewhat stable, but not technically a stabilized release. Now's the time. Please come in. Let's make sure this thing is ready to go. And also means perfect time for us. So Let's put this behind a WASI P3 flag. But I think one important thing that I want to call out as part of the design is that we're going to make this work simultaneously, but with P2 components and P3. They both can coexist. They can call each other in the same workload even. So that's a fun, challenging problem, but I think I have a solution. So that is what I'm going to push for, because that's also what I want to see the rest of the ecosystem adopt for P3. Because then, essentially P3 is additive. It's not even really technically a breaking change, except the interfaces change between P2 and P3. And the main reason why they change is really because the WASI P3 interfaces have just been rebased on native async APIs. And some of the rejiggering that we did in things like WASI CLI and WASI HTTP was completely because when you introduce native async and an async API, we want to make sure that it composes cleanly. So the changes there were almost all entirely motivated by native async, with the exception of Colin's changes, which is an addition to add time zones in WASI clocks, which is a much requested feature. So, yeah.
Oh yeah. Do we have, sorry, I'm asking you this question now, but do we have a preview of for Rust of the target?
Yes.
That would be really nice because I'm not smart enough to test P3 without my Rust code toolchain working.
It's yes. It started in nightly. Still, I believe in nightly technically. But it,
Sure.
nightly is the TLDR. The second part that I was chatting with the DT about is we already have wasi-rs, which is what a lot of people use, already building against the latest release candidate as well. Obviously, wasmTime 43 has the latest release candidate. And the WASI test suite has the latest release candidate, and all of that builds and works. So you can use the components that are in WASI's test suite, Colin, if you want to have something early to play with. That's like, let me bring that up, actually.
Just
Only WASI.
I joined just because I'm like, I was waiting for wasmCloud to be, or for KubeCon to be over and all the rush, and then
Yep.
now I'm ready
Get
to
back
pick it
in
up
it.
here.
Yeah, so if you look at where I changed these bindings, right? So like this doesn't use wasi-rs directly, which means it doesn't have a dependency there, which means I just pinned to those bindings directly in the test suite. But which means if you're just using with bindgen, you can build your own components, and all of these are their own little components that do all the different things that you might want to do with file system, clock, CLI, HTTP, all of that. So
Right.
we've got a P3 Rust native toolkit that you can use for your simple components. Part of what we have in that issue that I filed was also including we need to have for us our own examples and templates starting with Rust, but all of our supported languages in the wasmCloud space as well, so that people can find it. And for us, we can do even more interesting things, like with our service feature. I want to be able to show like a more interesting end-to-end thing versus some of the WASI test suite stuff, which is more, I guess I would say, like just proving operationally that it works. It's not necessarily like a use case that looks like something that people would actually run themselves. So. This
Okay.
one would be a great place for people to contribute to once we get the bones of this landed. I think Eric's already signed up to help us out with documentation. He also owns wasi.dev docs, so he's a
Right.
natural choice there. And yeah, so I think also making sure that we've got solid integration tests for this is another place where I'm going to take a pass. So I've assigned this to me, but also welcome collaboration on that and make sure we've got any gaps there closed.
Yeah.
So, yep.
And then do we still need nightly anyway for, I'm sorry, really getting into it,
Yeah, let's go.
for the standard lib APIs, the
Ah,
this issue? Or do we still will we need nightly on P3? I'm sorry. I feel terrible
um,
asking.
I need to run a couple things to double check for you.
Don't double check for me. Sorry. I'll
Uh,
ask the right people.
I'll tell you how I figure it out is I always look at what wasi-rs is doing and then I copy that.
Okay.
So this will be your answer for that. Uh, but basically, this was the rev a couple weeks ago to get it in. And main trick, you do need to make sure you're using with bindgen 54. I think it's pretty obvious when you're not what's going on
I
there.
feel so bad asking these questions, but I know that I need to know the answers, and
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
bug you when you're other
I
ones.
I think this one was already pinned to nightly here, but I'll double check and I'll Slack it to you. I just don't want to say it wrong in front of everybody
Okay.
else.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no, that's fine. So I can change. Since I'm already using nightly, I just need to install the night though. I can just go install WASM 32 WASI P3 as a nightly, and
Yep. It should work TM, but I don't know if the latest bindings have percolated into wrestling. You know, the people that work on that are sort of
yeah,
separate from the people that are even further along, more on the bleeding edge side of things.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
The yeah,
that's
that's
probably what
great.
you would run into if you try to do the rusted. And that is kind of the challenge here, is the chicken and egg. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
the language standard libraries will not ship until we ship P3, right?
Right,
And
right.
it's hard to validate P3 without having the ergonomic tooling around it that's just built in for you in all your different languages.
Yeah.
But
Well, at least we'll get it released, and then I'm
yes.
sure Joel has checked out, they tried out his Tokyo stuff. He's got to rewrite all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen that? Okay, I got cool stuff for you, Colin. All right.
It's good for everyone.
All of the stuff has landed. So I landed, and this is now released. I think it's this one. This is in release code. This is socket 2. It's got WASM 32 WASI P2 support. One cool thing to call out though is I did a trick. I said not P1, aka the
Yeah.
moment we have P3, this just works. It uses P3.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then the next thing is in Mio. Is it this one?
Yeah. Oh,
Well, I'm not gonna
here,
fluff
I'll get it.
around
I'll
for
get
it.
it. I'll get it.
But essentially, Joel has landed and merged changes to both Tokyo and Mio. I think there was one more PR remaining, and then that is good to go for P2, but he used the same trick as me. So when we moved to P3, yes, we have changes. There are better, more performant ways that we can do this stuff, and also it will just work. Which is ultimately what everybody cares about right now, is getting to something that just works, and then we can continue optimizing in the background.
Yeah. I think I got it here. Let's
Cool.
put it in the chat. I don't.
Yeah, landed. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, let me. I'll share that just so everybody can see if people are just watching from YouTube. Um, so this is a series of changes. I mean, a big long series of changes. But this is the more like recent one where Joel had landed changes in the WASI SDK. Those have percolated. He's able to depend on them here. This is merged. I believe there's a few more though, or at least one more that I'm aware of.
It should be
Is it?
mentioned in his Tokyo PR too.
Yeah, Tokyo's the end of the chain. Um, well, anyways, it's close. It's the
Yeah, that one's
TLDR for
still open. That
that.
one's still open.
Okay,
But
that's what I thought.
uh,
We're gonna celebrate from the rooftops when that one lands and it's released.
it's gonna be
S-
huge.
yes, so huge, and it just works for P2 stuff. So like what
Right.
everybody's doing today, then it will just work for the P3 because again, P3
It worked
additive.
better, hopefully.
Well, it'll start just working the same as P2 initially, and then it
Yeah.
will work better. Yeah, then we'll optimize in the background. So I think that's calling out some of those that are big rocks, metaphorically speaking, in our project planning for Q2. But there are other things that I think we should get on the roadmap. And so right now, this week, please file issues. I will make a pass with wasmCloud maintainers and post and propose the ones that I think should be in Q2 in our initial pass, but let's do and plan on a collaborative roadmap session next week in the next community call.
It's great. Everyone's very excited for cooperative threads over here.
Holy cow, yes. Have you seen Cy Brand's talk on it?
I did.
So
I did
good.
see it. That was great. Every time we meet with the people, the web browser people, everyone, I'm getting them all asking for,
Cool.
And yeah, so yeah, we're all getting really excited for component model in the browser. I know it's tangentially related to all this, but
I mean, the shim that, Victor has been working on in the Jco side of the world is going to be the shim TM. That's going to be, in the XKCD comic where they have that like one bit that everybody depends on. It's going to be that bit, and everybody's going to depend on it there. Basically, the bit that lets you take a component, we basically unbundle it, aka make it into WASM modules, shim it into the browser, and that shimming is going to be really important. And that's going to be the motivating, getting telemetry on that and proving that people care about it and are using it is going to be the motivating factor for folks like Chrome to actually go and implement the component model natively. The other fun thing, which browsers do, is they compete with each other, and nobody wants to be the slower one. So
one of them
Firefox's
does.
blog.
One of them's okay with it, but yeah, the two we're talking about don't want to be slower.
Yes.
Sorry, Bailey.
It's fair. But I think share this blog post around to Colin if you don't mind.
Sure.
Especially when you're talking to Googlers, I want to use that as an enforcement arm to be like, they've done the math. It is faster and better and great, and they're very excited to support this.
Share it right now.
Cool. Yeah, that one definitely made its rounds. And it goes into a lot of the details that I was just talking about on like how the shim
was already
works
on
and
there.
why.
I already
Yeah.
posted it.
Good.
Oh no, somebody else posted it. I commented on it. But yeah.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Mozilla signaling intention and support and being big fans of it. And then since that went out, actually a couple of Googlers have been posting and collaborating over on the component model spec, which is really good. Kind of all in line with trying to solve this problem.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to put this. I don't know if you guys are fans of it or not, or whatever. I'm not saying I am, but there's this. It's even making its way into YouTube's. I don't click on it because we're going to be on YouTube and we're sharing YouTube or something. But
Okay,
I'm going to put it here. I'm sorry.
I'll try not to click on it.
They're bringing back up they're bringing back in that talk from Destroy All Software.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which you have referenced yourself. This is really inside baseball, but I don't know. It's a talk from 2014.
It is one of my favorite talks of all time.
Yeah.
So
and I think that talk maybe why like half the people in WebAssembly are in WebAssembly, because it's from asm.js. It's just talking about that. And we're predicting 2026, I think was his prediction for it to start to really be a thing in the browser. I think we're a little behind. He predicted there was going to be a world war from 2022 to 2025 that would delay it, but there was COVID. But yeah, so we're a little behind his prediction, but it's happening.
Feels that way. Yeah. Well,
all right.
That was basically most of our agenda. P3 already gave that update, which is we're still completing the second reference implementation inside Jco. However, that is the end is in sight. Most things are working now. We're getting good bug reports. People are exercising it. We have other reference implementations that other people have created. Their use in production software today is unlikely, so we're not going to use them as a reference implementation, but the one that we support in the Bytecode Alliance is nearing completion, and so very hopeful in a month-ish we can launch this thing.
Yep. Then we'll get
But
into wasmCloud. And people are gonna be
even
able to take their
sooner.
stuff, just compile it with Tokio. It's just gonna work in wasmCloud.
And
It'd be
then
so much easier to talk to people about getting their stuff running in wasmCloud. It'd be great.
then 3 months from now, right? Like ish. And we should probably include this in our quarter planning. Cooperative threads landing.
Right.
We're aiming for the full stable release of that to come out with the July release of LLVM, because that's really what we're blocked by right now.
Right.
Because the implementations are complete. Sidebrand has 100% passing tests in the OpenPOSIX test suite. I helped just a little bit there by doing like 17 code reviews, but Sai did all the work. And yeah, so once that happens, then you're really cooking, because basically all, or for the most part, the things that kept people from being able to compile WebAssembly are gone. One more thing to add before I go to you, Liam. Colin, I've been talking to a research group that is interested in taking on WASI crypto and starting on that work soon. Which I'm sure you're happy to hear.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. I mean, it also Rust crypto's already come such a long way since I started asking for that, but definitely great to have that.
Yeah, so that's probably the only other thing I think in the space that is keeping just like random software off the shelf from compiling. Liam?
Amazed, Bailey, all the way across the board. So question around the LLVM work. Has it landed in a branch? I mean, is there a world where to get people testing this sooner and giving feedback that we, I don't know, like set up a build or a container with a build system or something so that people have an easy way to like play with all this stuff all together? I mean, what are your thoughts on how do we just enable experimentation and feedback?
Well, it's already merged in a lot of places. Obviously, OpenPOSIX test suite stuff is pinned to a branch that works. The other aspect here is that we've been building infrastructure inside the WASI SDK to enable us basically doing behind a flag releases that include exception handling and then soon cooperative threads. Cooperative threads is iterating still with the LLVM side of the world, so we're not quite at the point where we would add the LLVM patches into the WASI SDK yet. But I'm thinking in the next week or so, probably will be there. And then we would do the same thing we did with exception handling, which is basically taking the things that we want in LLVM, patching them in, and having that behind a flag that says, like you got to enable this because it's not stable yet. But that would give you a WASI SDK with a WASI libc and an LLVM that has both exception handling and cooperative threads enabled.
Then like we'd need a Rust build too to use that
Yeah.
LLVM.
The Rust work is slotted for obviously after LLVM because Rust is like they're not
Yeah, I'm just saying if we wanted to
spin on
like
it.
demo it, you'd kind of want the
Well, I don't
Rust
know.
using. Maybe all right.
How's your C++?
Well, it is happening. It's pretty terrible though, but and more every day.
Yeah. Well, so, Sai is like famous in the C++ space, and that's where they are going to build a ton of examples and exercising a lot of this with a lot of commodity software that people use today that we're gonna take and make work. That will be enough to exercise it. Like the OpenPOSIX test suite compliance test is sufficient to say this is a rock solid pthread implementation. So we're already there. So the feedback loop, I'm not saying it's not needed, but it's really just about landing the things in LLVM. We don't need any more feedback on that. It's done.
Oh yeah. No, I know.
And
I just
the
for what
design and the
Liam was
spec and
saying.
all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just have all of our examples. I think the only well, I don't know. I made a C example a while ago, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying for people to play around and use our examples or use the examples, the wasmCloud examples, we probably want a Rust build. But yes, in terms of like proving it out, yeah, we don't need to do any Rust stuff in terms of like proof of concepts and stuff.
Yeah, and we're happy with the spec there too. So that's already landed inside WASM tools, WASM time. They're all just on branches waiting for stabilization to be able to be turned on.
And then for the shim stuff, once we have cooperative threads, is that going to shim in as a web worker spawn, or is that going to be not a web worker spawn? It's probably going to have to be a web worker spawn, isn't it? The cooperative threads,
Well,
at least at first.
I don't have a resource that's on the hook for getting that over the line yet. Our first implementation, our first stab at this is just JSPI, and that's what our shim's going to do.
Right.
Because
What
a
is
web worker is more akin to a whole thread,
Right.
whereas a cooperative thread is more like a green thread or a coroutine.
No,
and
I
so-
know. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying we've been trying to get. We're really frustrated around the fact that it spins up the whole web worker, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, I'm just when you call, I don't think the web whatever JS. I just read about it too. Like got into it a little bit. Now JSPI, right? Was that
Mhm.
what? Okay. I don't think it has something that you can do other than spawn a web worker right now, right? For that.
Yeah, JSPI would not be like spawning a whole web worker, but it is taking advantage of essentially like the sort of async-ness in the browser,
Oh, okay.
and us being able to do that in a pretty efficient way. You're still effectively bound to one thread in that scenario, right? And
Okay.
then you're just essentially doing work stealing, is how that works.
Oh, okay. So it's like green threads, but with a single process. Or with a
Exactly that.
single, okay. All right. All right. So what is this? I'm sorry. Liam, is your hand still raised?
I think he's driving, so
No. All right.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I can figure it out.
Don't worry about it. I didn't want to be really rude, but what is when I do p threads and Emscripten, when I enable that, that's spawning web workers, but I don't think there's another option besides p threads true.
well, they don't have another option because they don't have an ABI to describe
Right.
how that's supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
Now I think, well, this is completely up to the Emscripten maintainers, but
Right. That's what I was thinking.
would be cool
Yeah,
if
that's where I was going.
we shared the same shim here, yes.
Yeah.
Now I've
'Cause
talked
then-
to Sam about this, Sam Clegg, and he's pretty into the idea of us, revisiting the WASI support inside Emscripten, potentially sharing our shim here, and that would basically mean it would be with JSPI with component model support. But
Yeah. Well, that's probably what we're gonna have to do eventually.
yeah. Yeah, it's just I'm personally very into server-side WASM. So
No, I am too. I am too. It's just people don't want to pay me to work on server-side WASM. People want to pay. They'll pay for the other
Yeah.
side. So
that whole product thing, gosh darn it. Yeah.
someday. I don't know if I'll get paid to do it, but some people will be. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay, well, we went places there. That was
Sorry.
probably in depth. Well, it was awesome because there's not like many other forums to talk about this. I did give the like opening and closing remarks for WasmCon and kind of tried to go through some of this there, but I think the WASM IO talks from Luke Wagner and Cy Brand are worth a watch if you haven't seen them. They go into great detail on all of these as well. Yeah, Frank?
I was going to ask in terms of WasmCon and KubeCon, if you guys can do any updates.
Yeah. Well, both were really exciting. I think my biggest takeaway from KubeCon was that I'm no longer, and I think Jeremy said this first, but I felt the same thing. I'm no longer like explaining why WASM, what WASM, any of those types of things. Everybody I talk to just seems to get it. And they want it. The question is more about the when than it is about the, kind of like the introduction tour that we normally have to do. Is there any more you would say on that, Jeremy?
No, yeah, that's 100% right. I would say also, and now I've only been with Cosmonic for almost a year. That's pretty cool. But anyways, like wasmCloud V1 to wasmCloud V2, the V2 it really sells is really easier to sell, like how it works at KubeCon this past time. Everybody was getting the idea of, oh, okay, this runs as an operator. Hosts are pods. We stuff the host, the pod as much as possible. They get the idea of density. The whole sandboxing approach, having it so it's wired, like each individual one is wired in a socket by itself. I really honestly can't even think of one person that left our booth when we were talking to people that were confused, which was amazing. The KubeCon in NA in Atlanta, I felt like there was some struggling there. So yeah.
Eric, you were there too. You have any other observations to add?
Yeah, I'd really just reiterate what Jeremy said. I think you really saw the light come on talking to people about the capability-driven sandbox. You really saw the light come on talking about the Kubernetes native design of wasmCloud V2. And like Jeremy suggested, I've been to a few of these now, and that felt new, and that was nice to see.
At the wasmCloud booth, we did have a lot of people that were kind of curious, wanting to know more about like Knative versus wasmCloud. Before, I feel like people just kind of felt like Kubernetes is this whole separate world and they didn't want to union them together. And now with wasmCloud V2, they're like, but could I? So I think that's probably something that is worth exploring, should we do a Knative scheduler for wasmCloud? How would they interact if we wanted them to? That kind of thing is interesting. For Wasm IO, I think the best ever intro to what WebAssembly components are was by Eric Rose from Fastly. I don't think there's ever been a better one. I've certainly tried, but I think he knocked it out of the park. And so I really recommend watching that and sharing that with people who are trying to grapple with all of this technology and what it means. Luke's talk made me happy because he's like, there's not going to be a P4. And I'm like, it's on a slide. I can screenshot it now and be like, we're not doing it. That was cool. And he went deep into the road to 1.0 and what that's going to look like and all of our motivations for a lot of things that Colin and I were just discussing in terms of browser support, what has to happen there. And that was the keynote on WASM IO. That was awesome. I did some fun stun hacks with people there. So I vibed out a chicory host for wasmCloud. That was cool. So we could, if we ever wanted, run a wasmCloud host inside the JVM. That's kind of fun to think about. I just wanted to try that out. I hung out with the GraalVM manager lead and he for WebAssembly and chatted with him. We pointed it at the Kotlin implementation that now has component model support for WASI HTTP. And he was able to successfully get a component model GraalVM thing working while we were hanging out. So those are some of my highlights of stun hacks that you can do with Claude to answer what's the art of possible now. And the answer is a whole freaking lot, which is a way cooler place than even last year.
Yeah, it'd be kind of poetic if all the AI attention that sucked away attention from WebAssembly comes back around, and AI ends up letting people migrate onto WebAssembly much easier than before.
I think it's going to be the case.
Colin, that's actually what I was going to say. Is my biggest insight was the sheer number of organizations that in the past have told me that they're waiting for Java to compile to WebAssembly to come back around and say, with vibe coding, I don't really care about the how it's done. I just care what's done. He's like, so since I don't really trust the code, why not, Rust into WebAssembly?
Yeah.
And that felt like a really profound insight. And I think what you just said is prophetic.
Yeah. Well, the other thing. Oh, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, I've been on the same path, which is Copilot and all those things. Cloud Code will be able to take our requirements and build the function. So I think that less and less we need Java, because then it's huge, it will take a long time and so forth. Meanwhile, we can just build components based with the AI tools.
But and not only that, if you were, it's really, you can really turn it all the way around and say like, well, if you are going to vibe code your way to products, what would you rather be doing? Vibe coding it in JavaScript or vibe coding it into Rust and WebAssembly,
Rust, of
right?
course.
Exactly, right? So right. So it's actually, this is like the best vibe coding product path. You know, we can I mean, I think it's true, but I think it's like definitely a case we can really start making now. It's like, well, you want to vibe code a product. Okay, well, do you want to be doing it in something in C++, right? Do you want to be doing it in JavaScript? Like, probably not, right? You want to have these, you want to have the sandboxes, you want to have memory safety, you want to have type checker.
You want to sandbox that slop.
Yeah, sandbox the slop.
So Jeremy, if you want to share the T-shirt we had for the Cosmonic.
Oh, is that it? You guys
I
are
was,
you guys.
I was
I'm
actually,
just like I'm just.
I was actually trying to find one. No, it's here.
It's in your DMs for me. I DM'd it to you when I ordered it, shipped it to you.
I'll get that. Give me that T-shirt. Send me the T-shirt.
All right,
Sandbox the slop.
It was definitely popular, but I'll maybe preview a little bit. Cosmonic will be releasing a white paper about this shortly. Again, this is where we've been spending our time is on, you know, what does this look like? You know, how do you approach this systematically? And, you know, we're pretty excited about the process. No, that was the sticker.
I know. I can't find it.
That's pretty good though. Yeah.
Scroll up a little further.
All right,
it's in there.
Yeah. Well, I think the story Rust, wasmCloud.
Oh, there it is.
WebAssembly, like 3 little boxes around the poop. You know. That's good.
Yes, there it is. Found it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You guys are so far ahead of me. And you had this shirt printed out and we're giving it to people at wasmCloud? I mean, sorry, at KubeCon?
Yes, they were hits. Yes. And we wore them.
We wore it.
Go.
I mean, we didn't just print them out. We wore them.
See, I thought I was being profound.
They wore them.
You guys had already made a
still don't have one.
like months ago. So there you go.
Yeah, we accidentally gave Bailey's away.
I was a little unsure, you know, like over in the Project Pavilion, it's a little bit more serious, you know, less marketing stuff, you know, not everybody over there. They want to, you know, we were talking about cooperative threads at a deep level and like the different types of ways we could implement it in languages. But over at the Cosmonic booth, good times were had by all.
That's a different question. I saw the announcement for KubeVirt, and I'm wondering if there's anybody looking into, I don't know if Lucas is looking into this, how to extend all the capabilities of the operator and all those things with KubeVirt.
I personally haven't played with KubeVirt, but my initial look here is there's no reason we couldn't make this work for essentially a host. Now, my like wish list item there is to instead use Hyper, or like I haven't evaluated KubeVirt deeply, but I think Hyper Lite from Microsoft, which also I want to highlight, by far one of my favorite talks from WasmCon by Dan Chiarloni. He did a really great deep dive into it, and it appears to solve the same types of problems as KubeVirt, except potentially KubeVirt slots in a little bit more naturally into a Kubernetes deployment. So that might be a win in KubeVirt's book. But as far as I'm concerned with wasmCloud, like if I can vibe code a host that runs inside the JVM, I think we can figure out how to run inside a VM just fine. And yeah, I think we could totally set that up. Are you using it, Frank? Have you tried it?
No. I saw the announcement because I've been following KubeVirt and Virtual Cluster, and I think those are the things that could help in terms of the scalability side of things.
Yeah, I think vCluster is awesome. I do have hands-on experience with that. Which potentially Cooper, are they in the same project? I can't tell. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'll look into it more. Cool.
Okay, well, I need to drop, but this was interesting.
Thank you. Well, and I think we're out of time anyways, so it's 2:00 Eastern time. Thanks everybody for joining, and I'll see you next week for a collaborative roadmap session where we plan out our